Valley of the Kings, 1323 BCE. A moonless night. Priests carry a golden coffin through the narrow valley. Inside lies the body of the boy king, Pharaoh Tutankhamun, who died under mysterious circumstances at just 18 years old. For 70 days they prepared his body so it could last forever. Every organ was removed and preserved. His flesh was dried with natron salt. His body was wrapped in resin-soaked linen. Amulets were placed between the layers to protect him in the afterlife. The tomb is small and hastily prepared. No one expected him to die so young. But inside is everything a pharaoh needs for eternity. Golden chariots, jeweled weapons, sacred oils, food offerings, and an 11-kilogram solid gold death mask. The priests seal the tomb. They plaster the entrance and stamp it with the royal seal. Then they bury it beneath rubble and sand. Tutankhamun disappears from history. 3,245 years later, in 1922, archaeologist Howard Carter will break that seal and whisper, "I see wonderful things." But Tutankhamun's story is not about his death. It is about the belief of the civilization he lived in. Death is not the end. With the right rituals, the right words, the right magic, you can live forever. This is the story of ancient Egypt, a civilization obsessed with immortality, built along the Nile, ruled by god-kings who believed death was only the beginning. This is the story of how a desert river valley became the most enduring civilization in human history. The geography of destiny. Egypt is the gift of the Nile. Herodotus, 5th century BCE. He was right. Seen from above, Egypt is a thin green ribbon cutting through an ocean of sand. The Sahara Desert dominates North Africa. Nothing should survive here. But the Nile River flows north from Central Africa for 6,650 kilometers, carrying water and life through the desert. In Egypt, it forms a narrow, fertile valley, sometimes only a few kilometers wide, before spreading into the delta and emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. This geography shaped everything, the flood cycle. Every year, like clockwork, the Nile flooded. Monsoon rains in the Ethiopian highlands sent a wave of water downstream. Between July and October, the river rose, overflowed its banks, and covered the valley, depositing rich black silt. When the waters receded, the soil was renewed, fertile and ready for planting. The Egyptians called their land Kemet, the Black Land. Beyond the green strip lay the desert, the Red Land, death. This predictable cycle made agriculture reliable. No guessing. The flood came. You planted, you harvested, you repeated. For thousands of years. Natural protection. Egypt was naturally isolated. Desert to the east and west. The Mediterranean Sea to the north. Dangerous cataracts south along the Nile. Invaders had to cross deserts or treacherous waters. This isolation brought stability. While Mesopotamia faced constant invasions, Egypt developed long, uninterrupted dynasties. Unification by the Nile. The Nile was also a highway. Boats traveled north with the current and south with the wind. Communication and trade were easy. This made centralized rule possible. One river, one king, one culture. Prehistoric Egypt. Before 3100 BCE. Humans lived in Egypt for tens of thousands of years, mostly as hunter-gatherers or small farming communities. By around 4000 BCE, permanent agricultural villages, pottery production, domesticated animals, early religious practices. Egypt was divided into small kingdoms called nomes, each with its own local god and ruler. Over time they merged into two kingdoms. Over time they merged into two kingdoms. Rai-Merchibride for Ramtuojo and ruler. Over time they merged into two kingdoms. Rai-Merchibride, Duridspalikafs, South, Nile Valley. Upper Egypt was called Upper because the Nile flows north. Each had distinct crowns and protector deities. Rai-Merchibride, White Crown, Vulture Goddess Nekbet. Lower Egypt, Red Crown, Cobra Goddess Wadjet. Around 3100 BCE, someone united them. Natural protection. Egypt was naturally isolated. Ranata, desert to the east and west. The Mediterranean Sea to the north. Dangerous cataracts south along the Nile. Invaders had to cross deserts or treacherous waters. This isolation brought stability. While Mesopotamia faced constant invasions, Egypt developed long, uninterrupted dynasties. Unification by the Nile. The Nile was also a highway. Boats traveled north with the current and south with the wind. Communication and trade were easy. This made centralized rule possible. One river, one king, one culture. 3100 to 686 BCE. The first dynasties. Narmer Menes, the unifier. According to tradition, King Narmer, also called Menes, unified Upper and Lower Egypt around 3100 BCE. Evidence, the Narmer palette, showing a king wearing both crowns and defeating enemies. Whether Narmer and Menes were the same person is debated, but by 3100 BCE, Egypt was one kingdom under one ruler. The capital was established at Memphis, strategically located between Upper and Lower Egypt. The concept of the pharaoh. The king was not merely political, he was divine. He was the son of Ra, the living embodiment of Horus, mediator between gods and humans, guarantor of matter, cosmic order, truth, justice. This was not metaphor. To stand before the pharaoh was to stand before a god. Absolute power was justified as divine will. Early dynastic achievements: development of hieroglyphic writing, centralized government and taxation, royal burial traditions, monumental stone architecture, trade expeditions to Nubia, Sinai and Lebanon. Early royal tombs at Abydos and Saqqara reveal mud brick structures, underground chambers, evidence of human sacrifice, later replaced by Shabti figurines, magical servants for the afterlife. Egypt was defining its theology of death, 2686–2181 BCE. When gods built mountains, Egypt moved from mud brick tombs to the most iconic structures ever built. Dynasty 3, the Step Pyramid Revolution. King Djoser, architect Imhotep. Imhotep stacked 6 mastabas, creating the Step Pyramid of Saqqara, 62 meters high. The first large-scale stone structure in history. Symbolism. Dynasty 4, the Giza Pyramids. Sneferu built 3 pyramids, experiments leading to perfection. Khufu, Cheops built the Great Pyramid. Original height 146.6 meters. 2.3 million stone blocks. Built in 27 years. Not by slaves but paid laborers. Precision unmatched even today. Pyramid texts and the afterlife. The oldest religious texts in the world. Spells to guide the king into eternity. The soul consisted of multiple parts. Ka, Ba, Ah, name, shadow, heart. Preserving the body was essential. 281 BCE, when the gods fell silent. After centuries of stability, the Old Kingdom collapsed. The reasons were many. Rorne, weak pharaohs, overpowerful regional governors, nomarchs, economic strain from pyramid construction, possible climate change and low Nile floods. The pharaoh was supposed to maintain matter cosmic order. When famine came, people asked a terrifying question. If the king is a god, why are we starving? Central authority broke down. Egypt fractured. 281–2055 BCE. Chaos and fragmentation. Egypt split into rival kingdoms. Local rulers fought for power. Art quality declined. Tombs became smaller. But something revolutionary happened. The afterlife was no longer just for kings. Funerary texts spread to nobles and commoners. The coffin texts appeared. Immortality became democratized. 2055 to 1650 BCE. Order restored. King Mentuhotep II reunited Egypt. A new era began. Pharaohs were still divine, but now portrayed as shepherds of their people, not distant gods. Achievements of the Middle Kingdom, large-scale irrigation projects, agricultural expansion into the Fayum, strong bureaucracy, literature flourished. Famous works include The Tale of Sinuhe, The Instructions of Amenemhat. These texts reveal doubt, morality, and political anxiety, human thoughts, not divine proclamations. Religion evolves. Osiris, god of the dead, rose to prominence. Judgment after death became central. The heart weighed against the feather of Maat. A moral afterlife, not automatic immortality. 1650 to 1550 BCE. Foreign rule. Foreign invaders called the Hyksos took control of northern Egypt. They introduced horse-drawn chariots, composite bows, new military tactics. Egyptians viewed them as barbarians, but they learned from them. 1550 to 170 BCE. Empire of Gold and Blood. The Hyksos were expelled. Egypt became an empire. Ahmose, founder of the empire. Ahmose reunited Egypt and pushed its borders outward. Egypt would never be the same. Empire and warfare. Egypt conquered. Nubia, gold mines. The Levant, Syria, tribute poured in. Egypt became unimaginably rich. Hatshepsut, the female pharaoh. One of the most successful rulers in Egyptian history, She ruled as a man wearing the false beard. Her reign was peaceful and prosperous. Trade expeditions reached Punt, bringing gold, incense, and exotic animals. After her death, her image was erased, possibly by Thutmose III. Tutankhamun, restoration, a child king. Under his reign, the old gods returned. Temples reopened. Akhenaten was erased from history. Tutankhamun himself died young and was forgotten until 1922. Ramses II, the Great, one of the longest reigning pharaohs, warrior, builder, propagandist. He fought the Battle of Kadesh against the Hittites, ending in the world's first known peace treaty. He built colossal monuments, Abu Simbel, Ramesseum. His statues were everywhere. 1070 BCE, the empire crumbles. Problems mounted: economic collapse, corruption, tomb robberies, powerful priests rivaling the pharaoh. The Sea Peoples attacked. Egypt survived but weakened. In 332 BCE, Alexander the Great entered Egypt. He was welcomed as a liberator. He founded Alexandria. After his death, Egypt fell to the Ptolemaic dynasty. Greek rulers claiming to be pharaohs. Cleopatra VII, the last pharaoh. Brilliant, multilingual, and political. She allied with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. She lost to Octavian. In 30 BCE, she took her own life. Egypt became a Roman province. 3,000 years of pharaohs ended. Epilogue. Immortality achieved. The temples fell silent. Hieroglyphs were forgotten. The gods were abandoned. But Egypt did not die. It lived on in Roman architecture, Christian and Islamic thought, mathematics, medicine, astronomy, the very idea of eternal life. And beneath the sand, the dead waited, mummified, prepared, immortal. Because the ancient Egyptians believed one thing above all else: to be remembered is to live forever.